Discover the heartwarming truth: how 1,000 years of medieval dentistry changed lives forever. In the quaint town of Willow Creek, where the sun cast a golden hue over the rolling hills and everyone waved hello as they passed, a tale began to unfold, one that bridged the past with the present in the most unexpected way. Clara, a fierce single mother in her 30s, balanced her hectic life as a dental hygienist, caring for her spirited 8-year-old daughter, Lucy, while also tending to her father, James, a proud war veteran. Each day felt like climbing a mountain, but Clara never faltered. Her determination was like a raging river, flowing forward even when the rocks of life's struggles threatened to dam it. One crisp Saturday morning, as Clara dusted off old boxes in her father's attic, she stumbled upon a peculiar book. It was worn and faded, but as she flipped through the pages detailing medieval dentistry, a warmth surged within her. The stories of courageous pioneers who challenged societal beliefs to improve dental care struck a chord in her heart. Clara leaned closer to the words, picturing struggles that mirrored her own. The thought of launching a dental initiative for the community swirled in her mind like a dervish. What if I could bring hope and health to those struggling? Could I really do this? The idea blossomed fiercely. With newfound resolve, Clara ventured to pitch her dream during the town meeting. The room buzzed with anticipation, but as her words spilled out, skepticism darkened the air. Many looked on with furrowed brows, the burden of economic divide palpable. How can a simple hygienist make any real difference? Grumbled one voice from the back. Clara's heart sank. Her first launch event had been a disaster. Not a single family came to hear her. The weight of disappointment pressed heavily on her like a lead blanket. Yet that evening, as she sat beside her father's flickering bedside lamp, feeling deflated, James encouraged her with his voice steady and filled with grit. Clara, change often begins with a few brave souls willing to stand up. Those medieval dentists? They faced doubt too. But they didn't stop. You owe it to yourself and to Lucy to fight for what you believe in. Clara's heart fluttered at her father's words, igniting a flicker of hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed, and Clara gathered her courage to confront her community's ingrained beliefs at the next town hall meeting. As she spoke, her voice trembled, but her message was clear. Accessible dental care could heal not just teeth, but the very fabric of their community. A smile, she pleaded, can knit families closer together. Clara recounted her struggles, weaving in tales of hopeful dental pioneers who dared to make a difference, fighting against ignorance. Slowly, she sensed the tide beginning to shift. Flickers of understanding danced in the eyes of her neighbors amidst the tension. But just as she felt the strength of shared hope taking root, the door swung open and in walked a figure so unexpected that Clara's breath caught in her throat. This moment could either propel her mission forward or send her dreams crashing down. Would Willow Creek rally behind her, or would they retreat back into the shadows of outdated beliefs? The air thrummed with anticipation as Clara faced what could change everything, leaving her and her entire community teetering on the edge of transformation. The figure who walked through the door was none other than Ethan, the town's former mayor. He had moved to a bigger city for work just a couple of years ago, and despite his absence, he was still a familiar face in Willow Creek. Clara's heart raced. In a town where opinions often split like the local river, Ethan's presence had the power to sway minds, either to inspire hope or dismiss dreams. Ethan's easy smile seemed genuine, yet Clara could see the weight of uncertainty in the crowd's faces. Every eye was now on him, as if he were a lifeline tossed in turbulent waters. "Clara, it's good to see you," he called out, his voice booming yet warm. He approached the podium with a confidence that both thrilled and terrified her. She'd heard about his charm. He had always been the one to rally the town behind good causes. But this was different. Clara was fighting for change, not just a seasonal event. Thank you, Ethan, Clara replied, her throat dry as parchment. He nodded, addressing the room. I've been back in town for a family visit, and I couldn't miss this meeting. When I heard about your initiative, Clara, I knew I had to be here. Holding her breath, Clara watched closely for the next words that would fall from his lips. Would he support her? It's time for Willow Creek to break free from outdated beliefs, Ethan declared, gesturing animatedly. Clara isn't just talking about dental care, she's talking about a healthier, happier community. We can't let skepticism stop us from moving forward. A murmur of approval rippled through the room. Clara felt her pulse quicken. Hope blossomed within her, battling the remnants of doubt that clung like morning fog. Ethan turned to her, a hint of encouragement in his eyes. You are a voice for many who feel voiceless, he continued, locking eyes with different members of the audience. You can make a difference, and I want to help. Gasps of surprise echoed. The townsfolk shifted in their seats, excitement mixing with disbelief. Let us set up a community health fair, Ethan suggested. Partner with local businesses, provide free checkups, we can all pitch in. Imagine what that could do. As the idea sank in, a wave of energy swept through the room. Clara could hardly believe this was happening. This was the lifeline she needed. Hands shot up. People began to share their thoughts, their hopes. Some offered resources, others expressed their support. Laughter erupted at jokes about dentists, but there was a sincerity in their smiles that Clara had never seen before. Clara felt herself small in such a big moment. The tears began to well in her eyes, joy flooding her heart. In those few moments she stood not just as a daughter or a mother, but as a beacon of change. But then, just as she settled into the euphoria of the moment, a shadow crossed her mind. What if she couldn't follow through? What if she failed? Doubt licked at her heels. After the meeting, as people trickled out, one person remained behind. It was Martha, a woman known for her harsh words. Clara's heart sank as Martha approached slowly. You think this is just a fantasy, don't you? Clara braced herself, anxiety knotting her stomach. Martha stopped in front of her, scrutinizing her with an intensity that made Clara fidget. Then, unexpectedly, Martha smiled. You know what, Clara? I'm willing to give this a shot, but... The word hung in the air like an unspoken challenge. Clara took a deep breath. What did the but mean? Would Clara be able to turn this moment into a reality? Or would the weight of doubt eventually crush her dreams before they even took flight? The next steps would be crucial, and the stakes were higher than ever. Clara felt a rush of uncertainty swirl inside her as Martha's smile faded, replaced with a calculating gaze. The tension was palpable, and Clara wondered what kind of terms Martha had in mind. But Martha began again, folding her arms. You need to be prepared for the backlash. Not everyone will be on board. There will be people who will undermine you. Clara swallowed hard, her heart sinking at the truth of Martha's words. She had sensed it already, the whispers, the eyes watching her every move as she ventured into uncharted territory. I understand, she replied cautiously, forcing herself to meet Martha's stare. But change doesn't come easy. I'm ready for whatever it takes. Martha nodded, still weighing her response. All right, but remember this. I'll stand with you, but you better have your facts straight. People respect knowledge more than empty promises. Clara felt a weight lift just a little. Martha's support, though staunchly cautious, was a sign of progress. Maybe, just maybe, even those who seemed stuck in their ways could be nudged towards acceptance. The night air was cooler now as Clara stepped outside. The stars blinked overhead, and the murmurs from the meeting still echoed in her mind. Excitement mingled with trepidation, but she had the community buzzing. The thought of planning a health fair, of uniting the town, made her stomach flutter with hope. The following days were a whirlwind. Clara met with Ethan to flesh out details and gather resources, consulting the rest of the townsfolk who seemed both enthusiastic and wary. She began to recognize the different factions in Willow Creek. Some were ready to jump in with both feet, while others teetered on the edge. Unsure of how to embrace change. One afternoon, she sat outside the local cafe with Ethan, reviewing flyers when he suddenly looked up at her, more serious than she'd seen him before. Clara, you need to be prepared. There will be naysayers. The town might feel like it's being pulled in different directions. It's not going to be easy. She nodded, a sense of resolve hardening within her. I know. But I've seen what this community can do when we come together. If we can just get them to see the vision. You also need to remember that people fear what they don't understand, Ethan interjected. Education needs to be the first step. As the weeks passed, Clara dove into research, creating pamphlets and presentations about dental health. She even reached out to a few friendly local doctors who had expressed willingness to speak during the fair. Eager kids from the community joined her efforts, their enthusiasm infectious. During a late afternoon planning session, Clara caught sight of the townsfolk milling about outside. She watched them, reminded in that moment of the connectedness she so desperately wanted to foster. Just then, a young girl named Lila, who had been shadowing her, tugged on her sleeve. Miss Clara, are we really going to help people? Like more than just teeth? Lila asked, her voice bright and innocent. Absolutely, Lila, Clara replied with a smile. It's about helping people feel good about themselves, about their health. It's about building a community. Lila beamed, the joy on her face spreading warmth in Clara's heart. As Clara returned her focus to the list of tasks ahead, she couldn't shake the feeling that bigger challenges loomed on the horizon. There were still skeptics, and the deeper she waded into this pool of change, the harder it felt to keep afloat. Yet she was determined to push through. If she could face down skepticism, she reminded herself, then perhaps her dreams had a chance to take flight. But late one night, when she was alone with her thoughts, doubt crept back in, gnawing at her like an unwanted visitor. Clara laid in bed, staring at the ceiling. What if the fair flopped? What if no one showed up? Would all this effort have been for nothing? Just when she was about to frighten herself into despair, there came a knock at the door. Startled, she glanced at the clock. It was nearly midnight. Who could be visiting this late? Slowly, heart pounding, she opened the door to find Ethan standing there, looking serious. Clara, we need to talk. I've just received some news about the health fair, something you might not expect. Clara felt more than just curiosity ignite in her chest, but fear of what might come next. What kind of news could leave Ethan looking so severe? An unsettling tension spooled through the air. What lay ahead could change everything they had worked for. Ethan took a deep breath, his brow furrowed with concern. It's about the venue for the health fair. I just spoke with Mary, the owner of the community center, and she said, well, she's receiving pressure to back out. Clara's heart sank. What do you mean? Pressure from whom? From a few folks in town who aren't supportive of what you're trying to do. They think it'll just raise too many questions and shake things up more than they want. He shifted nervously on his feet, as though he was bracing for impact. Clara felt nearly breathless. But the center is perfect. We've already planned everything around it. How can they just? She shook her head, unable to fathom the opposition. We're trying to help people here, not cause trouble. Ethan stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. I'm not sure they see it that way. Some see this as a challenge to their authority, Clara. It's going to take more than just good intentions to make this work. The weight of Ethan's words hung in the air like an ominous cloud. Clara pressed her fingers against her temple, trying to clear her mind. Panic fluttered within her. What if this was the breaking point? What if all their hard work crumbled before it had a chance to bloom? What if we just go ahead and ignore the pressure? She suggested, frustration boiling beneath her calm facade. We can still hold the fair to show everyone the benefits. Maybe once they see the turnout, they'll change their minds. Ethan sighed. That's brave, Clara, but we need to be realistic. If the venue pulls out and we're left with nowhere to go, everything could fall apart. We have to come up with a backup plan. Just in case. Backup plan, she murmured, feeling panic give way to determination. Clara's mind raced. She couldn't let this opportunity slip away. What if we organized multiple smaller gatherings instead? In people's homes or in local parks? We could create buzz and bring the community together. It would show Mary and everyone else that there's real interest. Maybe, Ethan replied, his tone hesitant but still encouraging. But we need to act quickly, Clara added, her excitement sparking back to life. We can't just let them dictate the terms. We need to prove that the community wants this. Ethan's eyes softened, and he nodded slowly. All right, let us do it. But we need to get everyone on board. Mobilize them while we still can. As Clara rushed to gather her thoughts, hope steadied her nerves. She could practically feel the pulse of the town, a rhythm waiting to break free. If they could create enough energy and gather supporters, perhaps they could sway opinions. Let us hold an impromptu gathering tomorrow, she said, her heart racing with renewed purpose. Put the word out. Let us do this, Ethan. We can fight for this together. Later that night, Clara lay in bed, sleep elusive. She could visualize what they were building, a network of people excited to embrace change. The thought was intoxicating, pulling her gently into a dream of unity and growth. But just as she drifted, another knock sent her heart racing. She sat up with a jerk, confused. Had she imagined it? No, it came again, more insistent now. Who could it be at this hour? She wondered, worry knitting her brow. With every step towards the door, the stillness grew thicker, not a sound echoing in the hallway save for her own breathing. Opening the door, she was stunned to find a neighbor she barely knew, her eyes wide with urgency. Clara? You have to come quickly. There's something happening in town, and you need to be there. Clara's stomach twisted. What news could possibly be waiting for her? What storm had brewed that compelled her unsuspecting neighbor to seek her out in the middle of the night? The air crackled with unpredictability, and Clara felt the weight of another challenge looming ahead. I'll be right there, she said, her voice steady despite her internal turmoil. What lay ahead could either unite or unravel everything she had fought for. Clara squeezed past her neighbor and into the cool night air, her heart thudding against her chest. What's going on? What's the rush? The neighbor, Jane, barely caught her breath, pulling Clara along. It's the town hall. There's a meeting. They're discussing the health fair and what happened with Mary. People are gathering to voice their concerns, and I thought you should be there. Clara's mind raced. Her initial instinct was to run back inside and hide under the covers. But there was no time for fear. A spark of resolve ignited in her, propelling her forward. Let us go, she said, her voice steady now, though her thoughts tumbled over each other. As they hurried through the darkened streets, the flickering streetlights cast long shadows that danced with their urgency. Clara's heart pounded louder with each step. The community center was more than just a venue. It was a symbol of hope for everyone wanting change. Inside the town hall, Clara felt a swell of energy wash over her as she entered. Voices buzzed, the air thick with tension. Chairs were filled with familiar faces, and the gravity in their expressions mirrored her own concerns. The mayor stood at the front, attempting to regain control as grievances were aired one after another. The health fair is foolish, shouted one man. What do we need more health issues stirred up for? Clara's stomach twisted. She could see the fear evident in their eyes, a fear of change, of the unknown. But she wasn't going to let that scare her away. She pointed to the woman beside her. What about the benefits? What about those who need services but can't get them? The fair could save lives. A few heads turned, acknowledging her voice as it rose above the murmurs. Clara's heart skipped a beat. Was she really going to speak up? Clara, now's not the time, Jane said softly, but Clara was already stepping forward, her feet moving as if on autopilot. Look, Clara said, forcing her voice to carry a calm strength. I understand there are concerns, but the health fair is a chance for us to come together as a community. We have resources, experts willing to share knowledge. Instead of pushing it away, let us embrace the opportunity. An uncomfortable silence followed her words, and Clara could feel the weight of their gazes on her. Fear gripped her, but determination surged as well. She had to push through, for everyone. Clara's right. Ethan's voice rung out from the back. We can't let a handful of voices drown out the needs of our families. This community needs options. The room shifted slightly, a crack forming in the grim facade. Clara felt hope stir within her like a flickering flame. Maybe, just maybe, they could turn this tide. A few people nodded, murmurs rising to a hopeful hum, but Clara could see the divide still lurking beneath. Then, a soft voice broke the tension, and Clara turned to see Mary, the community center owner. "I want to clarify that I am still committed to the fair," she declared, "but I need to know that the community stands behind this." Clara's heart soared, but fear still lurked. Would they unite to support change, or let fear push them back? An older man stood, his expression conflicted. "What guarantees can we have that this will be beneficial?" Clara took a deep breath, ready to respond, but a sudden loud crash echoed from outside, a commotion breaking the tension. All heads turned toward the door as it burst open to reveal a group of people, faces aglow with passionate energy. Clara's heart raced again. Who were they, and what did they want? With the unexpected chaos looming, Clara sensed a shift, a pivotal moment that could change everything. Would this new surge of energy lead the community towards solidarity or further divide them? As the voices roared, she felt the stakes rise. What would happen next could alter her town's future. Clara steeled herself, ready to fight for what she believed. The night was just starting, and the echoes of unknown challenges awaited. What lay behind that door? The doors swung wide, and Clara squinted at the array of faces pouring into the room, all buzzing with fervor. The newcomers were a kaleidoscope of emotions, some excited, others anxious. They seemed to embody the urgency Clara felt thrumming through her own veins. Who were they? What did they want? One figure in particular stood out among the rest. A tall woman with a confident stride advanced to the front, her long dark hair cascading down her back like a banner of defiance. Clara recognized her instantly. Samira, the local nurse who had always championed healthcare access in their town. The buzz around her was electric, and Clara felt her own heartbeat quicken. "I heard about the meeting," Samira began, her voice cutting across the room like a clarion call. "And I believe it's critical we speak out. There are too many in our community who suffer in silence, without access to basic health services. This health fair is a lifeline for them." Excitement fluttered in Clara's chest. Here was someone with authority, someone who could articulate all that she felt but struggled to express. The energy in the room shifted palpably as more people began to nod, some rising to their feet in solidarity. Yet still, doubts hung in the air like dark clouds. "The last fair didn't yield results," a voice called from the back, a familiar, disgruntled neighbor. Clara felt her stomach knot again. It was Gary, a man whose frown had been etched onto his face for as long as she could remember. "We can't have people thinking this fair will really help us. What if it doesn't? That's not the right attitude," Samira shot back. "If you throw in the towel before we even begin, you're guaranteeing failure. We owe it to each other to at least try." Clara's heart swelled. Just as she thought all was lost, a flicker of hope sparked alive within her. This was it. This was the moment. Standing tall in her chair, she raised her hand, feeling the weight of the crowd's attention on her once more. "What if we turn fear into action?" Clara shouted, her voice gaining a strength she didn't know she possessed. "Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, let us focus on what could go right. Imagine the lives we might touch, the health we could promote." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Clara stole a glance at Jane beside her, who had a glint of hope in her eyes, mirroring Clara's own. Mary stepped forward again, her expression softening. "We have experts, we have resources, and now we have a community willing to advocate for real change. If we can unite, we can make the health fair an impactful event." Ethan shouted, "What do we need to do? How can we help make this happen?" A thrill of excitement mixed with apprehension surged within Clara. She had spoken up. She was right in the thick of this moment, and the energy was infectious. She could feel the walls of doubt cracking, if only just a little. As ideas burst forth, drawing everyone's attention, Clara knew they were on the brink of something remarkable. Maybe they could rally this community together, use their collective fears to fuel a strong motivation for change. But it wasn't tea over yet. Gary's voice grumbled, cutting through the enthusiasm. But what will happen if we fail again? Suddenly, the room fell silent. Clara's heart raced as she looked around at the faces, uncertain and hopeful. Clara, Jane whispered urgently. What do we tell them? The weight of her town's hopes seemed to rest on her shoulders. Could she provide the assurance they desperately needed? As she opened her mouth to speak, the door creaked again, and another figure stepped in, one she didn't expect to see. The swirling possibilities danced around her mind. What awaited her next? Would this stranger bring the answers, the guidance they needed, or more questions still? The tension in the room built once more, and Clara felt the air thicken with anticipation. The figure who walked in was unfamiliar yet instantly compelling. Dressed in scrubs, with a stethoscope hanging loosely around her neck, the woman surveyed the crowd with piercing blue eyes. Clara's heart skipped a beat. There was something in the newcomer's demeanor that felt both reassuring and electrifying. Excuse me, the woman said, her voice calm but strong, restoring the attention of the room. I'm Dr. Lila Harper. I heard about this meeting from Samira. There was a slight pause as she allowed her words to sink in. I want to help. Applause erupted spontaneously, muffling Gary's lingering doubts. Clara could hardly believe it. A doctor joining their cause? This was extraordinary. Excitement rippled throughout the crowd, faces brightening in response. I recently moved here and I've been hearing so much about the health challenges in our community, Lila continued, her eyes scanning the room. Many can't access medical services easily. I want to change that. My goal is to ensure that everyone has a chance at basic health care, regardless of their situation. Clara's heart soared. Finally, someone who shared their vision. But questions bubbled up in her mind. What exactly can we do? She wondered. She felt a desperate need for clarity in this whirlwind of hope. Lila smiled, sensing the energy. Together, we can organize the fair not just as an event but as a movement. We'll provide free checkups, mental health resources, and vital information on preventive care. But we need to mobilize. We need volunteers, funds, and, most importantly, your voice. Clara could feel the tide of determination swell in the room. Jane squeezed her hand, her wide eyes reflecting excitement. This is happening. We're actually going to do this, she exclaimed, her voice trembling with joy. But Gary's voice burrowed back into the collective consciousness. That's all well and good. What if we put all this work in, and no one shows up? What if we fail again? You can choose to see fear as a reason to back away or as a reason to propel you forward. Lila countered, an intensity igniting in her gaze. What we might lose cannot outweigh what we might gain. Murmurs of agreement erupted, with some neighbors exchanging glances, contemplating. Clara's pulse quickened with every word Lila spoke. With someone like her on their side, they could tackle the doubts that had held them back for far too long. Who's with me? Lila shouted, her voice rising above the low hum. Clara felt the heat of applause as hands rose into the air, unified in solidarity. Let's make this happen. In that moment, Clara realized they were on the edge of transformation not just for their community but for themselves, as individuals with a shared purpose. But deep inside her, a question lingered. Would they genuinely be able to pull this off? Before she could ponder further, the door swung open once again. A tall man stepped in, a clipboard in hand, his demeanor serious yet intrigued. Unfamiliar, yes, but there was something about him that felt pivotal to their plans. Clara felt her breath hitch as she caught his eye. What role would he play in this unfolding drama? Dr. Harper's words buzzed in her head, but the new presence stirred more questions than answers. Would he bring more support, or would he add obstacles to their ambitious vision? The weight of possibility hung in the air, thick and palpable, an invitation to face the unknown head-on. The tall man stepped further into the room, catching the shifting energy in the crowd. Clara could see his clipboard filled with notes, numbers, and some diagrams. He looked as if he'd just walked out of a meeting with city planners, confident yet oddly out of place among the enthusiastic community members. Clara's heart raced. Who was he, and what did he want? Hey everyone, he said, his voice steady but layered with tension. I'm Alex Reynolds, the new health coordinator for the city. I heard about this meeting and wanted to see firsthand what's brewing. A mix of curiosity and caution rippled through the crowd. Clara couldn't help but wonder if his intentions aligned with what they were trying to accomplish. As she watched, Lila stepped forward, the warmth of her energy pushing back against the room's growing uncertainty. Welcome, Alex. We're excited you're here, Lila said, her blue eyes sparkling with determination. We're working on launching a community health fair to provide services for those who need it most. Alex nodded, but he leaned against the wall, arms crossed, surveying the crowd. It's a great initiative, he replied, scanning the faces of the eager attendees. But launching a health fair is not just about goodwill. We need data, planning, community outreach, and a clear vision of how this will work in practice. Clara's stomach churned, suspicion flickered within her. Was he here to inject reason, or was he about to rain on this parade of hope? The tension in the room felt like a taut wire, ready to snap. Lila has a vision, Jane said boldly, stepping up beside Clara. We need someone to believe in us, not just challenge everything. Her fists clenched at her sides, her passion echoing Clara's internal fire. Jane, calm down, Clara whispered, feeling the anxiety whirl in her chest. They had come so far in this meeting, and she didn't want anything to shatter the newfound momentum. Lila remained poised, the calm in the storm. We welcome your thoughts, Alex. Every perspective helps, she said, her tones smooth. What do you propose? How can we work together to ensure this fair makes a real difference? The room held its breath. Clara felt the weight of optimism but also the creeping fear that Alex could make or break this dream. It felt like they stood at an intersection, a choice ahead that could lead them down very different paths. The city has programs already in motion, Alex replied, casting a more detailed gaze at the group. If you want to connect with the right resources and reach the most people, we'll need a strategy. I can help with that. Some nods began to form around the room. The flicker of hope in Clara's chest battled against the chills of skepticism. Could Alex be their ally instead of a hurdle? The applause that broke out was hesitant at first but grew louder, the collective intrigue overpowering the surrounding doubt. Clara glanced toward Lila, who beamed wider than before. But just as the waves of encouragement washed over them, another voice shot through the conversation. What if all this effort leads to nothing? Aren't we just setting ourselves up for disappointment? Gary's familiar voice cut through the enthusiasm, creating a sudden chill in the air. Clara's heart sank. Could their fears gain ground once more? How could they silence the nagging doubt that plagued not just Gary, but perhaps others too? The room shifted, and uncertainty returned, clouding the bright possibilities ahead. Clara needed to refocus, to remind everyone why they were there. We've chosen to believe in change. Dr. Harper believes. Let us see this through, she shouted, her voice infused with the determination she hoped would ignite another spark. But it was gaining momentum as the room began to murmur once more, tension thickening. As Clara's words echoed in the air, she saw the flicker of uncertainty in Lila's eyes. Would they truly turn this dream into reality, or was this just another attempt destined for collapse? Her heart raced once more as she realized, each passing second added weight to the decision that loomed over them. And then, at that moment, the door swung open again. A woman stepped in, a familiar face, clutching a dog-eared flyer. Clara's breath hitched. What did she bring? Was it yet another obstacle or an unexpected lifeline? The woman stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on Clara. There was a flicker of recognition, a moment of relief that washed over her as she approached. It was Angela, a local nurse who had been actively involved in various community projects for years. Clara's heart leapt. If anyone could breathe life into their vision, it was her. Clara! Angela called out, waving the flyer like a battle standard. You want to believe what I found? This could change everything for us. The energy in the room shifted once more. Clara could feel everyone's eyes on them, curiosity piqued. What is it? She asked, heart racing. Angela held up the flyer, now showing it to everyone, and the crowd leaned in. There's a grant available for community health initiatives. Up to $10,000. A wave of excitement surged through the crowd. Whispers filled the air as Clara's mind raced. Funding? It felt too good to be true. Are you serious? She asked, desperately looking for confirmation in Angela's eyes. Yes. The application is straightforward, but it has to be submitted by the end of the month. We can use this money to cover materials, advertise the fair, maybe even hire a few specialists to help. The momentum was palpable. A sea of hopeful faces filled the room, clinging to the possibility that had just emerged. Even Alex stepped forward, his clipboard forgotten in the moment. This is fantastic news, he said, nodding earnestly. With proper outreach and planning, this grant could elevate what you're working on. We could really make an impact. Clara felt a mixture of elation and dread. $10,000 sounded like a dream, but it also meant an intense rush to prepare, focus, and execute a solid proposal. Could they really rise to the occasion? But Gary's voice held a hesitant tone, drawing attention once again. What if we don't get it? Aren't we setting ourselves up for another disappointment? Clara felt her fists tighten. Why was he so quick to cast doubt? Did he not see the opportunity? Gary, we won't know unless we try. She fired back, her voice sharper than intended. This is our chance. The risk is worth it if it means we can help our community. The tension in the room held for a moment longer, then began to shift. People were nodding, whispering encouraging words to one another. Lila stepped in front of the group, her presence calming. We're already here. We've already started something great. Let us harness this energy. Let us put together a plan for the grant. The enthusiasm grew. Clara could see it in the way people straightened up, leaning forward with eagerness. Yes, she echoed. We need a timeline. Volunteers to gather information, and maybe even brainstorm ideas for activities to include in the fair. A flurry of conversations ensued as ideas bounced around the room. Clara was amazed at how quickly they transformed doubt into action. She could feel the warmth of hope enveloping her. For the first time in weeks, the vision of the health fair felt tangible, and then, just as the energy hit a new peak, Clara's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out to find a text from Dr. Harper. Call me ASAP. Important news about the health services. The warmth in the room faded into a thin veil of uncertainty. Clara shot a worried glance to Lila, whose smile faltered for a moment. Hope it's good news, Clara murmured, but deep down, she felt a gnawing anxiety. What did Dr. Harper want? With a determined breath, she decided to step outside to take the call. What was the important news that could potentially tip their new beginning back into chaos? The door closed behind her, leaving the fervor of discussion inside. Clara's heart raced again, but this time with a different kind of trepidation. What lay ahead could make all the difference between failure and the lifeline they so desperately needed. As she dialed Dr. Harper's number, she felt the weight of possibilities hang in the air. Would this be the moment that would define their efforts, or would it dismantle everything they had built? Clara stepped outside, her heart pounding like a drum. She could feel the cool night air swirl around her, but her thoughts were a tempest. What awaited on the other end of the line? With a deep breath, she pressed the phone to her ear. Hey, Dr. Harper. I just got your message. What's going on? Clara's voice was steady, even if her nerves were frayed. Clara, it's about the health fair. Dr. Harper's voice was calm but grave. The city has received complaints from some community members about the event. They're concerned it'll disrupt the usual order and are pushing for cancellation. Clara's stomach dropped. Cancellation? No. We can't let that happen, not now. Listen, Clara. I'm working on a way to mitigate this. But we need to show that there's overwhelming community support for this initiative. If we can get everyone rallied behind us, it'll be harder for them to deny or dismiss us. Clara felt adrenaline surge through her. She could see the faces of her neighbors, the ones who had begun to believe in their shared mission. What can we do? Mobilize everyone. Get those volunteers together. Show the city council that this matters to everyone. A show of force, so to speak. I will. Thank you. Clara hung up, heart racing, already strategizing. She dashed back inside, the energy of the room washing over her like a wave of warmth. All right, everyone. Clara called. Heads turned her way, anticipation crackling like electricity. We need to rally. Dr. Harper just informed me we're facing pressure to cancel the health fair. We have to prove how vital this is for everyone in our community. Gasps echoed in the room. Disbelief met determination. Clara's stomach tightened, but she quelled the anxiety rising within. We need your help more than ever. Gather your friends and family. Tell them why this fair matters. We need letters of support, signatures, everything. Lila stepped forward, her calm demeanor unwavering. We can also organize a community event, a rally to showcase our goals and gather support. It's time to be loud, visible, be proud of what we want. Excited murmurs filled the air as people shifted, ready to engage. Minutes turned to hours as Clara and her neighbors worked together, frantically tossing ideas around like confetti in the wind. They scheduled a rally for the weekend, flyers flying into hands as if they were wings taking flight. Each moment strengthened the bond that had been forming within the community, and Clara could feel it building. Hope emanated from every corner. As the week rolled into the weekend, Clara stood at the front of the crowd assembled in the town square. The sun bathed them in a warm glow, and a heady mix of excitement and nerves bubbled beneath her skin. Spirits were high, families lined the streets, and laughter buzzed in the air. She felt a surge of pride, a manifestation of everything they battled for. Today we stand together not just for dental health, Clara began, her voice rising over the murmurs of the audience, but for all the lives that can be transformed when a community believes in itself. Together, we can reshape Willow Creek, one smile at a time. Cheers erupted, people clapping, waving homemade signs, support radiating through the crowd. Clara felt her heart swell. Where doubt had once darkened the path, there was now a community ablaze with possibility. As she looked around at the faces of her neighbors, she realized this was more than just about dental care, it was about unity. Clara had forged a bond among them, one stronger than any argument against change. Each voice and each smile lit the way forward, and together they ignited a fire of hope that couldn't be extinguished. As the rally concluded, whispers of excitement grew louder. The next day was filled with a flurry of activity, letters sent to decision-makers, volunteers organized to spread awareness, a tangible buzz reverberating through the town that had once felt so stagnant. Finally, Clara took a moment to breathe. Joy washed over her as Lucy ran into her arms, her beaming smile radiating through Clara's very soul. "Mom, look!" Lucy shouted, holding a sign decorated with rainbows and hearts. "We're going to help people." Tears of joy filled Clara's eyes. This journey was no longer just her own, it had become a shared story, rich with love, determination, and hope. Clara hugged Lucy tightly, overwhelmed by gratitude. "Yes, sweetheart. Together, we're making our dream come true." They would face whatever the city council threw their way. Clara now had an entire community standing beside her, a family forged in the fires of struggle, rising toward a brighter future to build a community where every voice mattered and change was possible. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and purple, Clara felt a sense of calm settle over her heart. Change was no longer a distant dream, but a living, breathing entity, rooted deeply in the hearts of everyone who believed they could truly make a difference. This was just the beginning. Before you go, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to catch all upcoming stories that inspire and transform lives. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and keep our community growing. Comment below your thoughts and reactions. Let us know how this journey touched you. Don't wait not even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation. Together, we can create waves of change,